हेलो नमस्कार। खुश रहो बच्चों। आई एम JV'n डॉक्टर शाहनवाज आलम, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर of ज्योति विद्यापीठ वुमेन्स यूनिवर्सिटी जयपुर. Today we discuss about most important concept of economics for managers and macroeconomics. Today topic is measure to solve the problem of inflation. Inflation is generally controlled by the central bank, or in India central bank is RBI, and or governments. The main, the main policy used is monetary, changing interest rate, etc. However, in theory, there are a variety of tools to control inflation, including monetary policy, control of money supply side policy, and fiscal policy, wage control, etc. Monetary policy, higher interest rate, reduce the demand in the economy, leading to lower economic growth and lower inflation. Under this theory, or under these policies, Reserve Bank of India uses CRR, bank rate, reserve repo rate, and open market operation to control the inflation in an economy. What is bank rate? At that rate, commercial bank commercial bank take loan from RBI. That means at that rate, RBI give to loan to commercial bank. But if if commercial bank take loan from RBI for short term, that rate is the bank rate. But if commercial bank taking loan for the long time, that rate are called repo rate. If commercial bank give loan to the Reserve Bank of India, this is called reverse repo rate. Okay. Control of money supply. Monetary uses. There is a close link between the money supply and inflation. Therefore, controlling money supply can control inflation. Supply side policy to increase the competitiveness and efficiency of the economy, putting the downward pressure on long-term cost. Fiscal policy, a higher rate of income tax would reduce spending, demand, and inflationary pressures. Wage controls. Trying to control wage could, in theory, help to reduce inflationary pressures. However, apart from the 1970s, it had been rarely used. Monetary policy in period of rapid economic growth, demand in the economy could be growing faster than its capacity to meet it. This led to inflationary pressure as a firm response to shortage by putting up the price. We can term the demand pull inflation, therefore reducing the growth of aggregate demand should reduce the inflationary pressure. The central bank would increase interest rate, higher rate make borrowing more expensive and saving more attractive. This should lead to lower growth in consumer spending and investment. See more on higher interest rate. A higher interest rate should also lead to higher exchange rate, which help to reduce inflationary pressures by making import cheaper, lower price of import goods, reducing demand for exports, increasing incentive for exporter to cut costs. As part of the monetary policy, many countries have to inflation targets. The argument is that if people believe the inflation target is credible, then it helps to lower inflation expectations. If, if inflation expectations are low, it becomes easier to control inflation. Countries have to make central bank independent in setting monetary policy. The argument is that an independent central bank will be free from political pressure to set up low interest rate before an election. Fiscal policy. The government can increase the taxes such as the income tax and indirect taxes, that is the VAT, value added taxes, and cut spending. But nowadays, these taxes are called the GST, Good and Services Tax. This improve the government budget situations and help to reduce the demand in the economy. Both these policies reduce inflation by reducing the growth of aggregate demand. If economic is rapid, reducing the growth of aggregate demand can reduce inflationary pressure without causing a recession. If a country had high inflation and negative growth, then reducing aggregate demand would be more unpalatable as reducing inflation would lead to lower output and higher unemployment. They could still reduce inflation, but it would be much more damaging to the economy. Other policies to control inflation. Inflation is caused by wage inflation. Then limiting wage growth can help to moderate the inflation. Lower wage growth help to reduce the cost push inflation and help to moderate demand pull inflation. However, as the UK discovered in 1970, it can be difficult to control inflation through the income policy, especially if the union are powerful. Monet, monetary inflation by the controlling the money supply. Monetarists believe that is a strong link between the money supply and inflation. If you can control the growth of the money supply, then you should be able to bring inflation under control. Monetarists would stress policies such as higher interest rates, increasing budget deficit, control money being created by the government. However, in practice, the link between the money supply and inflation is less strong. Supply side policy. Often, inflation is caused by the persistent uncompetitiveness and rising cost. Supply side policy may enable the economy to become more competitive and help moderate inflationary pressure. For example, more flexible labor market may help to reduce inflationary pressure. However, supply side policy can take a long time and cannot deal with inflation caused by rising demand. Why? To reduce hyperinflation, change currency. it a period of hyperinflation. Con- Conversational policy may unsuitable. Expectations of future inflation may be hard to change. When people have lost confidence in a currency, it may be necessary to reduce a new currency or use another like the dollars. Zimbabwe, that is the example of hyperinflation. Way to reduce cost push inflation. Cost push inflations, for example, rising the oil price can lead to inflation and lower growth rate. This is the worst of both worlds and is more difficult to control without leading to lower growth. Okay, thank you.